I found her secret vault containing replicas of every memory we ever shared. It sounds like something out of a bad sci-fi movie, right? Like some kind of crazy futuristic hoarding situation. But it's real, and it's sitting in our spare room. A room that's supposed to be for guests, for extra storage, for all the stuff we don't quite know what to do with. Except this isn't just stuff. It's everything. Everything we were. And I'm telling you this because, well, if you're listening, if you're reading this, maybe you can help me make sense of it. Or at least maybe hearing it out loud, putting it down somewhere, will make it feel a little less like it's eating me alive. Hit that subscribe button if this is the kind of story that gets under your skin, you know? And give it a like, share it with anyone who appreciates a good, raw confession, and leave a comment below. Seriously, I need to know what you guys think. The spare room. It's always been the casualty of our lives. When we first moved into this house, the little rancher in Willow Creek, it was going to be a nursery. Then it became Liam's Lego haven. After Liam left for college, we talked about turning it into a proper home office for Sarah, so she could finally ditch the kitchen table. But life, man, life has a way of rerouting you. So it just sat, a dusty repository of good intentions. Until a few weeks ago, when Sarah was out of town for a conference in Denver, and I finally decided to tackle the overflowing closet in there. I swear, it was like a black hole of forgotten sweaters and holiday decorations. I was wrestling with a particularly stubborn box of Christmas lights, the kind that tangled themselves into impossible knots, and I knocked over this old trunk. It's a heavy, dark wood thing. I bought it for her on our 3rd anniversary. She said she loved it, said it looked like something from an antique store, full of history and secrets. I guess it was more literal than I ever imagined. It landed with a thud, the lid popping open just a crack. Dust motes danced in the sliver of light that came through the window. I knelt down, intending to just push it back into place, but something caught my eye. Inside, nestled amongst some old photo albums and a few of her childhood toys, a slightly creepy porcelain doll that always gave me the heebie-jeebies, was a small, unassuming metal box. It was about the size of a shoebox, gunmetal gray, with no discernible lock or handle, just a smooth, cool surface. I picked it up. It felt heavy, heavier than it looked. Curiosity, that old devil, got the better of me. I ran my thumb over the surface, looking for a seam, a button, anything. And then, without me even trying, a small section of the lid slid inwards, almost silently, revealing a recessed keypad. My gut did this weird little lurch. Why a keypad? Sarah wasn't exactly a tech whiz. She struggled with the smart TV remote. This was different. I stared at it, a strange unease settling in my chest.
Then I remembered. A few years back, she'd gotten really into, digital scrapbooking. She'd spent a fortune on some fancy software, and then, well, that fell by the wayside too. But maybe this was related. A secure digital storage? I typed in what I thought might be a common password for her. Sarah, 1985. Nothing. Willow Creek. Nope. My fingers hovered over the numbers, a prickle of anxiety starting to crawl up my neck. What was so important that it needed a secret digital vault? I thought about just closing it, leaving it, but the thought gnawed at me. This was Sarah's, her space, her things. What was she hiding? I tried her birthday, then mine, then ours. And then, on a whim, almost as a joke, I typed in forever. The keypad lit up with a soft blue glow, and with another nearly inaudible click, the lid slid open. My breath hitched. It wasn't just one thing inside. It was layers, like one of those Russian nesting dolls, but with memory. The top layer was a small, almost impossibly thin tablet. I picked it up. It was cold, and when I touched the screen, it flickered to life. The first thing I saw was us, on the beach, the summer we met. Golden hour light, the kind that makes everything look like a dream. We were laughing, our faces turned towards each other, probably at some stupid thing I'd said. It was a still image, but it felt alive. I could almost hear the waves, feel the salt spray. Beneath it, in tiny, elegant font, it read, August 14th, 2008. The first time. My hands started to shake. I scrolled down. There was another image, us, at that little Italian place downtown, the one with the checkered tablecloths. We were clinking wine glasses, heads thrown back in laughter. October 2nd, 2009, our anniversary. Then a blurry shot of Liam, maybe 5 years old, smearing spaghetti all over his face. February 10th, 2012, Liam's birthday. Each one was a perfect snapshot, a crystallized moment. But it wasn't just the photos. Beneath each image, there was a brief, almost poetic description. And then, below that, an audio file. I tapped the play button on the first one. My own voice, younger, clearer, filled the quiet room. "God, Sarah, I think I'm falling for you." I heard her laugh, that soft musical sound that always made my heart do a little flip. "You think, Mark, took you long enough." I was reeling. This wasn't just a photo album. This was a curated collection of our entire history. Every significant moment, every joke, every whispered promise, every argument, every moment of pure, unadulterated joy. I spent the next hour, maybe 2, completely lost. I saw our first apartment, the one with the leaky faucet and the view of the alley. I saw the day we brought Liam home from the hospital, his tiny fists curled around my finger. I saw the frantic scramble to pack when my job transferred us to Chicago, the tears and the reassurances. I saw the relief when Sarah finally landed her dream job at the gallery.
Each memory was so vivid, so real. It was like reliving it. The details were astonishing. The way the sunlight hit her hair in that picnic photo, the exact timbre of Liam's giggle in that audio clip, the faint scent of rain on the air and the memory of us getting caught in a downpour on our honeymoon. How did she capture all this? And then I saw it. A file labeled April 7th, 2018, The Fight. My stomach twisted. That was the fight. The one where I'd been so stressed about work, about money, about everything. I'd said things I regretted. Horrible, hurtful things. Sarah had cried. I'd never seen her cry like that. I'd felt like a monster. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the play button. I didn't want to relive that. But it was here, in her vault. A perfectly preserved piece of our shared pain. I tapped it. The audio started. My voice, raw and angry. "I can't do this anymore, Sarah. It's too much." Then her voice, trembling but firm. "Mark, you're not listening to me." The fight unfolded. Every cruel word, every desperate plea. It was excruciating. I covered my mouth with my hand, trying to stifle the sounds of my own distress. When it ended, with her quiet sob and the slam of a door, I felt a wave of nausea. But that wasn't the end. There were more files, and they were different. They were more recent, and they didn't feature me. The first one I clicked on was titled September 19th, 2022, Our Weekend. The image was of Sarah, her hair down, looking radiant. She was laughing, her head tilted back. But she wasn't with me. She was with someone else. A man. He was blurred in the background, his arm casually around her shoulders. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't a memory we shared. I scrolled down, my hands slick with sweat. There were more. So many more. November 3rd, 2022, the concert. Again, Sarah, this time leaning into a man's chest, a concert ticket stub on the table beside them. February 14th, 2023, Valentine's. A candlelit dinner. Sarah was smiling, holding a rose. The man was there, his hand resting on hers. Each one was a meticulously documented betrayal. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It was a pattern. And it was all here, stored in this secret vault. My mind raced. Who was this guy? How long had this been going on? And why? Why was she keeping all of this? The happy memories, the joyful moments, all interspersed with these affairs. Was she reliving them? Comparing them? The sheer volume of it was overwhelming. Thousands of entries,
stretching back years. Some were just brief flashes, a smile, a touch. Others were longer, audio recordings of conversations, snippets of shared laughter that now sounded like poison. I felt a cold dread creep through me. This wasn't just about Sarah. This was about my entire life. My entire reality being built on a foundation of what? Lies. Deception. I stumbled back from the trunk, my legs weak. The spare room suddenly felt suffocating, the walls closing in.
The metal box sat there, a silent testament to a double life I never knew existed. I looked at the tablet again. It glowed softly, showcasing a picture of Sarah and me, taken just last Christmas. We were both smiling, Liam in between us. The caption read, December 25th, 2023. Pure joy. Pure joy. The words tasted like ash in my mouth, because I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the man in those other photos, the one she was sharing her life with, wasn't me. And the vault wasn't just a record of our shared past. It was a testament to her present. A present that had no room for me. I sank onto the dusty floor, the tablet clutched in my trembling hands, the silence of the house amplifying the roar of questions in my head. What was I going to do? How could I ever look at her again? And the most terrifying question of all, was any of it real? The sheer, suffocating weight of it pressed down on me, stealing my breath. It wasn't just the discovery, the raw, gut-wrenching proof of infidelity. It was the how. The meticulous, almost obsessive way Sarah had cataloged our life, both the genuine joy and the secret sin. It was like looking at a meticulously crafted diorama of a life and realizing the whole thing was a lie. Every tiny detail painted over the truth. I traced the outline of my own smiling face in that Christmas photo. The phantom warmth of that day, now a bitter mockery. Pure joy. What a sick joke. I kept scrolling, my eyes burning, my fingers numb. It felt like an archaeological dig into the ruins of my own marriage. Each click, each image, each audio snippet was another shard of glass piercing through the illusion. I saw her on vacation in Hawaii the year before last. It was supposed to be our big romantic getaway, just the two of us, to celebrate our 15th anniversary. We'd booked a secluded villa, planned sunset dinners, the works. In the vault, there was a picture of Sarah on a beach, silhouetted against a vibrant sunset. But it wasn't our sunset. The watermark in the corner, too subtle for me to have noticed in a real photo, said Kaiai Coastline. I'd never been to that particular spot. And beside her, his arm draped around her waist, was him. The same man. The blur was gone in this one. He had dark, curly hair, a strong jawline. He looked happy. Utterly, undeniably happy. And Sarah was leaning into him, her eyes closed, a smile of pure contentment on her face. It was the smile I used to get. The one I thought was mine. Then I found the audio. I clicked it, my heart pounding like a drum solo against my ribs. It was them. Talking. Their voices low, intimate. I can't believe we're here, she whispered. Her voice thick with something I couldn't quite place. Longing. Ecstasy. It's real, Sarah. His voice, a deep baritone I'd never heard before. It sent a shiver down my spine, a primal, unwanted reaction. Everything about it. You. Us. But, Mark. She hesitated. That pause.
It was the longest, most agonizing pause in the world. It stretched for an eternity, filled with the crash of distant waves and the unspoken chasm that had opened between us. "What about Mark?" He chuckled, a low, warm sound. He's a good guy, Sarah. He really is. He just doesn't get you. not like I do. My vision blurred. I slammed the tablet shut. The screen went black, a void mirroring the one that had suddenly consumed my life. He doesn't get you, not like I do. The words echoed in my head, a brutal, undeniable truth delivered by the very person who had systematically dismantled my reality. He was right. He didn't get me. He was too busy getting her in ways I apparently never could. I wanted to smash the tablet, to obliterate these manufactured memories, these digital ghosts, but I couldn't. It was like a morbid fascination, a need to understand the extent of the deception. I opened it again, my hands still shaking, but with a new kind of resolve. A cold, hard anger was starting to simmer beneath the initial shock. I scrolled through more recent entries. They were almost entirely devoid of me. Pictures of Sarah at art openings, the man, I needed to find out who he was, by her side, his arm around her as she spoke to patrons. Dinners, trips to the coast, weekends away. Each one meticulously documented, a diary of her secret life laid bare for me to discover in the dust of our shared history. There was a recurring theme. Flowers. He sent her flowers constantly, not just on special occasions, but random Tuesdays. I found a picture of her apartment, our apartment, the one I was supposed to be living in right now, on a Tuesday morning. A massive bouquet of sunflowers sat on the kitchen counter. The caption read, "Just because." And then, an audio recording, her voice, breathless with delight. "Oh, baby, they're gorgeous. Thank you. I love you so much." Love you so much. The phrase hung in the air, a sickening echo of promises I'd made, of vows I'd thought we both kept. Who was this guy? How long had he been in our lives? And how had Sarah managed to keep it all so perfectly compartmentalized? The happy memories of us, the intimate moments, all preserved alongside these intimate moments with him. Was she comparing them? Using them to justify her choices? Or was she just enjoying the show? I felt a wave of nausea. The thought of her in our bed with him. The thought of her laughing that laugh, the one I'd always thought was reserved for me with this other man. It was like a physical blow. And the fact that she had kept all of this, that she had created this vault, it wasn't just an affair. It was an archive of her duplicity. It was a shrine to her betrayal. I scrolled further back, trying to pinpoint when it started. It wasn't there on our anniversary trip to Italy. It wasn't there on Liam's graduation from kindergarten. It wasn't there when I got that promotion.
The happy memories of us continued, interspersed with the early, tentative moments with him. A blurry photo from a street fair, a quick audio clip of them laughing in a crowded bar. It was like watching a disease spread, slowly at first, then accelerating, consuming everything in its path. And then I found it, a file labeled June 12, 2021, The Decision. The image was of Sarah sitting on a park bench, looking thoughtful. Beside her, holding her hand, was him. The same man. The intimacy between them was palpable, even in a still image. There was a softness in her gaze, a vulnerability I hadn't seen in years, not directed at me anyway. Beneath it, a longer audio recording. This wasn't a quick snippet. This was a conversation. "I don't know what to do, David," she said, her voice laced with a familiar anxiety, but also with a strange undercurrent of excitement. It's everything I've ever wanted. Him. This life. "But Mark," David replied, his voice steady, reassuring. "He's a good man, Sarah. He loves you. And Liam..." I know, she sighed. Liam would be devastated. And Mark, he's been my rock for so long. But this feels like me. The real me. The one I've been hiding, even from myself. For years. David squeezed her hand. "I'm not asking you to throw away your past, Sarah. I'm asking you to choose your future. And I want to be in it. I want us to be our future.
The conversation went on, a detailed, heartbreaking dissection of their affair, their feelings, and the difficult choice she was facing. They talked about me, about Liam, about the life we'd built. They talked about how she'd always felt something was missing, how I was dependable, stable, but not passionate, not alive, not like David made her feel. I listened, frozen, the words a searing brand on my soul. He didn't get me. He didn't make her feel alive. She had been living a lie, a comfortable, predictable lie, while yearning for a spark, a fire that David apparently ignited. And she'd chosen him. She'd made a conscious decision. And then she'd proceeded to document our shared life, our happy moments, as if nothing had changed. Why? Why would she keep all of this? The happy memories of our life together alongside the evidence of her betrayal? Was it a way to feel guilty? To punish herself? Or was it a twisted form of control? A way to ensure that no matter what happened, the narrative of our love would always be within her reach, a tangible reminder of what she'd had and what she'd replaced. My mind reeled with the implications. This wasn't just about infidelity. This was about a fundamental deception that had been going on for years. Years of pretending. Years of smiling, of loving, of building a family, all while her heart and her body belonged to someone else. And Liam, how could she look Liam in the eye every day, knowing this? How could she let him believe in our family, in our love, when it was all a facade?
I remembered a conversation we'd had a few months ago. Liam had been struggling with some friends at school, feeling left out. Sarah had been so comforting, so present. She'd stayed up late with him, talked him through it, held him close. I'd watched her, filled with pride and love, thinking, this is a good mom. Now that memory curdled in my gut. Was she just playing a role? Was any of it real? I picked up the tablet again, my fingers tracing the cool metal. There had to be more. There had to be a reason for this elaborate, horrifying archive. I scrolled back to the beginning, to the first memory, August 14th, 2008, the first time. Then I jumped to a more recent entry, a picture of Sarah and Liam at a soccer game, taken just last week. The caption read, Liam's goal. And then below that, a file I hadn't noticed before, buried at the very end of the list, almost an afterthought. It was a single audio file, with no image, just a timestamp. April 21st, 2024. My confession. My breath caught. Confession. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic, desperate rhythm. This was it. This was the key. I pressed play. Silence. For a long moment, just the hum of the house. Then her voice. Softer than I'd ever heard it. Trembling. Mark, she began, her voice thick with unshed tears. If you're hearing this, if you found this, then I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. I'm so incredibly, deeply sorry. The tears were audible now, quiet sobs that tore at me. I know you must be so angry. You have every right to be. I've destroyed everything. Our life, our family, our love, and for what? For a moment of something I thought was missing. A spark, a passion, something I convinced myself I needed. Her voice cracked. But it was never enough, Mark. It was never going to be enough. Because the truth is, the real truth, is that it was never about David. Not entirely. I leaned closer, my body rigid. What was she talking about?
It was always about what I was missing, what I felt I was missing, and I projected it all onto him. He made me feel alive, yes, but he also made me feel seen, truly seen, like the real me, the one I'd buried so deep, finally had a voice. She took a shaky breath. But he's not the reason, not the sole reason. The real reason, Mark, the real reason I did all of this is because I was scared. So incredibly scared. Scared. Scared of what? I was scared that you didn't love me anymore. She whispered, the words barely audible. That you were going through the motions. That you looked at me and saw obligation, routine. I saw it in your eyes sometimes, Mark. When you thought I wasn't looking, you were tired. And I started to believe that you were tired of me. That I wasn't enough anymore. That you deserved someone better. Someone younger. Someone more. And so I looked for that validation elsewhere. I found it. And I clung to it. And then I started to document it all.
Because if I was going to lose you, I wanted to have a record of everything we had, everything I was losing. And maybe, just maybe, a part of me wanted you to find it, to know what you were losing, to know what I was capable of, both good and bad. Her voice dissolved into sobs. And then it became a habit, a secret world, a way to feel something, anything. And I lost myself. I lost us. And I don't know how to get back. I don't know if we can get back. But I needed you to know. I needed you to understand, even if you can never forgive me. The recording ended. The silence that followed was deafening. My ears rang. My chest felt tight, like a vice was crushing my lungs. She was scared. She thought I didn't love her. And because of that fear, she'd systematically dismantled our entire life, documented every moment of her betrayal, and built a shrine to her infidelity. I stood there, in the dusty, spare room, the metal box open, the tablet glowing softly in my hands. The weight of her confession, her fear, her actions, was crushing. It explained so much. The distance I'd felt, the quiet moments of her looking away. I had attributed it to work stress, to exhaustion, to the natural ebb and flow of a long marriage. I'd never considered that she was looking at me and seeing an absence of love, not an abundance of it. But that didn't excuse it, not even close. The fear was real. I accepted that. But the betrayal? The meticulous cataloging, that was a choice, a series of deliberate, calculated choices. And the fact that she'd left this confession, was it a plea for forgiveness? A desperate attempt to salvage something? Or just a final, taunting act of control, ensuring I understood the full depth of her actions? My mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Anger, of course, a white-hot rage, but also a profound sadness for the Sarah I thought I knew, for the life we'd shared, for Liam, caught in the crossfire of our shattered reality, and a flicker of something else, something dangerously close to understanding, not condoning, never condoning, but understanding the flawed, broken human being who had made such catastrophic choices. I looked at the tablet, at the endless stream of memories, happy and devastating. They were all Sarah. They were all us. And now, they were all tainted. Every laugh, every touch, every whispered promise, now echoed with the ghost of David, with the shadow of her fear. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah. A text message. "Hey, honey. Back from Denver. Just landed. Traffic's a killer. Be home soon. Missed you. Heart." I stared at the message,
the heart emoji a sickeningly sweet lie. Home soon. She was coming home. To the house I was standing in, the room filled with the wreckage of our marriage. And I had this entire horrifying archive of her deceit. My hands clenched around the tablet. What was I going to do? How could I possibly confront her?
How could I ever look her in the eye again, knowing she'd built this secret world, this vault of our shared past and her private present, all while telling me she loved me? Then another text from her. So I was thinking, maybe we could order in tonight? Chinese? And then we could finally talk about that trip to the coast you wanted to plan for next spring. Just you and me, like old times. Like old times. The words were a cruel joke. There were no more old times. Not anymore. And the thought of sitting across from her, pretending everything was okay while this knowledge burned inside me, it was impossible. I looked down at the tablet, at the last image displayed, a picture of Liam, beaming, holding up a soccer ball. The caption, Liam's goal. My son. He was the only thing that felt real, the only anchor in this sea of deception. I closed the vault, the soft click echoing in the silence. The sheer volume of pain, of betrayal, was almost too much to bear. But the lie, the performance, it had to end. Tonight, I had to make it end. I stood up, my legs still shaky, and walked out of the spare room, leaving the silent testament to our broken marriage behind me. The front door creaked open. Her keys jingled in the lock. She was here, and I had no idea how I was going to survive the next 5 minutes, let alone the rest of my life. The sheer, blinding terror of what was about to happen, of the words that would be spoken, of the lies that would be exposed, was almost paralyzing. My stomach churned, a knot of pure dread tightening with every second she drew closer. The air in the house suddenly felt thick, charged with an unspoken tension that could shatter at any moment. And I knew, with a chilling certainty, that nothing would ever be the same again. The sound of the front door opening, the familiar scrape of the lock turning, it was like a trigger. A jolt ran through me, the kind that makes your teeth ache and your palms sweat. I could hear her voice, a bright, airy sound that now felt like nails on a chalkboard. "Mark? Honey? I'm home. You won't believe the flight delay." Her words trailed off as she stepped into the living room, her eyes scanning the space, a faint frown replacing the cheerful welcome. She held a small overnight bag in one hand, her purse slung over her shoulder. The picture of normalcy. The picture of the woman who had just confessed in chilling detail to shattering my world. She stopped when she saw me. I was standing by the entrance to the living room, my back to the hallway, facing the open space that separated us. The tablet was still in my hand, a cold, hard weight. I hadn't put it down. I hadn't moved. I just stood there, absorbing the echo of her confession, the final, devastating audio file playing on repeat in my mind. Her voice, trembling, admitting fear, admitting seeking validation, admitting the meticulous documentation of her betrayal. Her smile faltered. She saw it then. The stillness.
The unnatural way I was holding myself. The tablet. Her eyes flickered to it, and for a fleeting second, a shadow crossed her face. A flash of something. Recognition? Panic? Then it was gone, replaced by a carefully constructed expression of mild concern. "Mark? Everything okay? You're looking a little pale." She tilted her head, her eyes searching mine, trying to read the unreadable. It was the look she'd given me when I'd been sick as a kid, that gentle, maternal gaze that always felt a little bit like pity. Now, it felt like a calculated performance. I couldn't speak. The words were lodged in my throat, a solid lump of ice and fury. I just looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved, the mother of my child, the person I thought I knew better than anyone. The woman who had curated a secret life, a parallel existence documented with chilling precision. "What's wrong?" she asked again, her voice a little tighter this time. She took a tentative step forward, dropping her bag by the door.
The click of her heels on the hardwood floor sounded unnervingly loud in the charged silence. I finally lifted the tablet, turning it so the screen faced her. I didn't say anything. I just held it there, an indictment. Her gaze dropped to the screen, and her eyes widened. The color drained from her face, leaving her skin a waxy, unnatural white. Her breath hitched. What is that?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Her hands fluttered, as if to cover her mouth, then dropped uselessly to her sides. I scrolled through a few of the recent photos, the ones from her Denver trip. Pictures of her at a bar, laughing with colleagues. Pictures of a fancy dinner. And then, I landed on one of her and David, taken on a beach, their faces close, her eyes closed in that same blissful smile I'd seen before. The same smile I used to receive. Her breath came in ragged gasps. She took a stumbling step back, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape route. "Mark, I can explain." "Can you?" My voice was a low growl, a sound I barely recognized as my own. It was raw, broken, and filled with a simmering rage that had been building for hours. "Can you explain the vault, Sarah? Can you explain the June 12th, 2021, the decision file? Can you explain my confession?" She flinched at the words, her body recoiling as if struck. Tears began to well in her eyes, but they didn't look like tears of remorse. They looked like tears of fear, pure, unadulterated fear. You went through my things?" she accused, her voice trembling, a desperate attempt to shift the blame. "Your things?" I took a step towards her, my voice rising. "This is our life, Sarah, or at least it was supposed to be, and you've meticulously documented its demise. You've built a goddamn museum of your betrayal." She started to cry then, a full, desperate wail. "Mark, please, it's not what you think. I was scared. I was so scared." "I thought you were tired of me. I thought you didn't love me anymore. So your solution was to have an affair for years, and then meticulously archive every moment of it alongside every happy memory we ever made?" I was shouting now, the words spilling out of me like venom. "You thought I was tired of you? What do you think I'm doing right now, Sarah? Looking at this monument to your lies. This is what I'm tired of. This is what I can't stand." She sank onto the edge of the couch, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. "I didn't want to lose you," she choked out between sobs. "I was so afraid of losing you. And Liam, I couldn't lose Liam. And how do you think this is going to affect Liam?" I raged, gesturing wildly with the tablet. "He thinks we're a family. He thinks we're a team. What happens when he finds out his mother has been living a double life? What happens when he realizes that all those happy family photos are just props in your elaborate deception?" The mention of Liam seemed to cut through her tears for a moment. Her head shot up, her eyes wide with a fresh wave of panic. No, you can't tell him. You can't ruin his life." "Ruin his life?" I laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "You've already done that, Sarah. You've already shattered the foundation of his world. You've already taught him that love is a lie, that commitment is meaningless. What do you think this is, a happy ending?" She pleaded with me, her voice hoarse. "Mark, please, let's pretend this didn't happen. We can work through this. We can get therapy. We can fix this." The thought of therapy, of trying to fix something so fundamentally broken, made me want to vomit. The idea of sitting across from her in some sterile office, trying to untangle the years of lies and deceit, it was too much. Fix this? You want to fix this? After this? After you built a secret world, a shrine to another man, and then just left it for me to find like some sick treasure hunt? My anger was a tidal wave, threatening to drown me. But beneath it, a deep, crushing sorrow was beginning to surface. The sorrow of a man who had loved blindly, who had been utterly, completely deceived. The sorrow of a life that had been reduced to a curated collection of lies. "Who is he, Sarah?" I asked, my voice suddenly quieter, the fury giving way to a hollow ache. "David. Who is David? And how long has this been going on?" She looked down, her gaze fixed on the floor. Her voice was barely audible. He's
He's someone I met at an art gallery opening a few years ago. It started slowly, just talking, and then it grew. A few years, I felt a cold dread spread through me. How many years, Sarah? She didn't answer. She just continued to cry, silent tears now streaming down her face. I knew with a sickening certainty that the answer would be more than I could bear. The vault. It held the evidence.
The timeline of her betrayal stretched back further than I could have imagined. The file, August 14th, 2008, the first time. Was that the start of it all? Or just the first documented entry? I sank onto the armchair opposite her, the tablet still clutched in my hand. The weight of it felt immense, a burden of knowledge I never wanted. I looked at her, this stranger in my living room, this woman who had shared my bed, my life, my secrets, and yet she was utterly unknown to me. The Sarah I thought I knew, the Sarah I loved, was a figment of my imagination, a carefully constructed illusion that had shattered into a million pieces. "You said you were scared," I said, my voice raspy. "Scared I didn't love you. Sarah, I did love you. I loved you more than anything, and I still do. But how can I love someone who has done this? How can I trust someone who has lied to me so completely for so long?" She finally looked up, her eyes red and swollen, her face etched with a misery that seemed almost genuine. "I don't know, Mark. I honestly don't know. I made such terrible choices. I was so lost. I thought I was finding myself, but I was just destroying myself, destroying us." The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken accusations and unshed tears. The life we'd built, the dreams we'd shared, the future we'd planned, it all lay in ruins around us. And the chilling part was, the archive of her betrayal, the meticulous documentation of her affair, was still right there, a silent witness to our unraveling. I thought of Liam, sleeping soundly in his room, blissfully unaware of the earthquake that had just ripped through his world. He was the only innocent in this, the only one who deserved better. And looking at Sarah, at the wreck she'd had become, I knew I couldn't let her destroy him too. I stood up, my legs feeling heavy, as if made of lead. I walked over to the window, staring out at the darkening sky, the familiar suburban street now alien and menacing. The weight of it all was crushing. The anger, the pain, the betrayal, the confusion. It was a toxic cocktail churning in my gut. I turned back to her, her form a huddled shape on the couch. Her confession, her fear, her reasons, they were like 1,000 tiny shards of glass, each one piercing me with a unique kind of pain. She was scared. She felt unseen. She sought validation. But none of it excused the years of deception, the quiet, calculated dismantling of our life. The archive. The goddamn archive. My phone buzzed again. Another text. This time from Liam. "Dad, Mom's still not home. I'm hungry." My heart lurched. Liam. He was waiting. He was hungry. And he was expecting a normal family dinner. I looked at Sarah, then at the tablet, still glowing on the coffee table. The choice was stark, brutal, and unavoidable. I couldn't pretend. I couldn't go back. The vault had shown me the truth, the ugly, painful truth, and there was no unseeing it.
I walked back to the couch, not to sit, but to stand in front of her. I held out the tablet, the screen still displaying her confession. "This," I said, my voice rough but steady. "This is the end, Sarah. There's no going back from this. There's no pretending this didn't happen. You chose this. You built this. And now, you have to live with it." Her eyes widened, a flicker of defiance mixed with despair. "Mark, no. We can't, not Liam." "Liam,"
I repeated, the word a raw ache. Liam is the only reason this isn't over right now. But he deserves to know the truth. Not today, not tonight, but he deserves the truth. And he deserves to know that his father is not a liar. I let the tablet fall onto the coffee table, the impact soft, insignificant against the magnitude of what it represented. Then I turned and walked towards the kitchen, my own footsteps sounding hollow and lost. I could hear her on the couch, the soft, broken sounds of her crying. But the sound no longer reached me. It was a distant echo, a fading memory of a life that was no more. The air in the house felt heavy, thick with the ghosts of what had been, and the chilling silence of what would never be again. The path ahead was dark, uncertain, and utterly alone. But for the first time since I'd opened that vault, I could see it, and I knew I had to walk it.